Thanks everyone for taking your time to attend our topic of the meeting, Finding Your Inner Voice. So let me kickstart the session by introducing myself. My name is Mani and I'm a cybersecurity professional with work experience starting in India, London, Bermuda, and now in Vancouver. I'm currently the security lead at Ballard Power Systems. My work experience comprises building cybersecurity strategies, developing security initiatives, incident response, risk assessments at enterprise level. I hold a Bachelor of Technology in Electronics and Communication and BA in Information Security. I currently serve the president of WiCyS Western Canada affiliate. I'm passionate about giving back to cybersecurity community and wish to see more women in cybersecurity in future. Outside of work, you might be seeing me trying extreme sports or traveling or playing badminton. So let me introduce our next panelist, Aarti Gadhia. Aarti is originally from Kenya. She moved to UK to pursue a degree in financial economics. In 2004, she immigrated to Vancouver, Canada, and currently works for Buckrout. Her mission is to break down barriers and boundaries to achieve equality for underrepresented groups in STEM and in leadership. She founded Stand Out to Lead to empower women in cybersecurity to join corporate boards. She also founded SHE, Sharing Her Empowerment, with mission to be a collective voice with an organization to influence change and close the gender diversity gap. Aarti joined OAS Vancouver board to increase diversity and encourage women to be speakers. She also volunteers her time with ISACA Vancouver She Tech to build partnership and WiCyS Western Canada as an affiliate advisor. She was recently quoted in Canadian Security magazine as she shared her views on the importance of soft skills to break down barriers in traditional hiring. She was also nominated in Top 20 in Cybersecurity Honorary Award by WiCyS and IT World Canada. She was recently judged for African Women in Security Network. In 2021, she was featured in The Rise of Cyber Women, Volume 2, as she shared her safari of experiences to be a change agent and pave the path for future generations. Due to her international background, she loves to travel and learn different cultures. If you're seeing her post on LinkedIn titled Pulka Roti, you'll know that she enjoys cooking. Let me introduce the next panelist, Vanita D'Souza Huleti is a member of Board of Governors of University of Manitoba. She's an accomplished information technology management professional with over 30 years of industry experience, over 25 in leadership positions, most notably being the first female division head of IT at Winnipeg Police Service, an educator at both the University of Winnipeg and Red River College. She loves to impart knowledge and share her professional and personal experiences. Vanita plays an active role within her community, serving on several community committees and boards at executive level. She chaired the WCB United Way, leading to the best results in WCB's history. As a mentor and speaker, she radiates a deep passion for empowering women in STEM and help new immigrants integrate successfully into Canadian culture. She obtained her master's degree from University of Manitoba and holds several professional designations and certificates. She has published papers in international journals and presented papers, reports at international conferences. Vanita is married with 3 adult sons. The next on our panel is Mana. She's a 20 plus year veteran IT industry as a career business analyst in software development, content management, business processes, IT infrastructure, and finally IT security. Mana's career started out in general admin and service coordination for a small company, but with bigger aspirations, she was open to other paths. On advice from her brother, who was starting out in IT, he suggested she explore this avenue. Being a shy introvert, programming behind a computer seemed like the perfect fit. However, this is not what happened. Instead, she was directed into a role that was client-facing. Throughout her career, she's been involved in countless projects and have run a few too. Now in the seat as the director of business development at an innovative technology company, her role melds together her experiences and passions. The next on our panel is Sridevi Sadhanini. Sridevi is a senior cybersecurity professional with proven abilities in different areas of IT security. She has a diversified background from large organizations in India and Canada. She has implemented various types of security solutions in the banking sector, telecom and utilities industries. She studied commerce initially and now successfully transitioned to cybersecurity from the last 15 years. She has experienced and overcame many challenges in this transition with grit and determination. She always looks forward to encouraging others. The last but not the least, the panelist is Temi Tope. Temi Tope is an information security specialist with over 6 years experience, whose highlights of past include creating information security awareness program, risk management and assessment, vendor information security reviews, coordination of ISO 27000 compliance process, and managing incident. She's currently working as information security analyst at Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, which is ICBC. She's also volunteered with Osaka, Vancouver as chapter assistant security. She's currently serving as the vice president of WiCyS Western Canada affiliate. Temi completed her master's degree in information security and management at Concordia University of Edmonton. She holds a bachelor of computer engineering from Nigeria. With that power-packed introduction, let me refresh your memories with a short description of the topic of today. So even in inclusive workplaces, there are occasions where you're left out. On top of that, remote working has its role of no personal interaction. So have you ever felt it that way? Or it might be easy for some people with personalities and for others it may not. How do you let others know that you want to be included and want to be part of the discussions? Did the fear of being belittled stop you from speaking up? How do you handle such situations? How to show others your authentic self without changing your personality to seek validation to fit in? This is mostly faced by many women in cybersecurity. So let's talk about this topic. Understand where the problem is. How people overcame those. What are the tools we can use? So before I go around the panel discussing the topic, I want to share a quote by Madeleine Albright. She said something like this: so it took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent. So with that quote, can any one of you share an example as to how you were left out of discussion? How did you deal with it? Can you share a tidbit of it? Maybe I'll start with Aarti. Would you share one of your stories?
Absolutely. Firstly, greetings to everyone. I'd like to say jambo, namaste, konnichiwa, bonjour to everyone around the world, as the themes around the world. Thanks so much, Manny, for that. And my story. So I'll share a small story from many years back when I first felt this experience and I had lost my inner voice. And then I'll bring it back to what many underrepresented groups face in our industry. I was really interested in going abroad to study. So as Manny had mentioned, I'm from Kenya, and this is when I was 19. I wanted to go abroad. And despite being the youngest and the only daughter, both my parents really supported me to pursue a degree. And I accepted a offer from the University of Wales. I was placed in a dorm where there was 7 of us, and we shared a common kitchen. And I saw them as my first friends in a foreign country, 8-hour flight away from Kenya, and then 3 hours from London. And these were my first few friends in a foreign country. I'd never been to Wales before that. I trusted them, and I had a Kenyan accent. I wasn't interested in drinking alcohol at that time. And I never thought, being raised in Kenya, I never thought I was different. I was confident. I was very confident of who I was. And the first weekend, everyone was in the kitchen planning to go to a nightclub. I was excited, and I thought this would be fun, as I love dancing. Who doesn't love dancing, right? We got to a nightclub, and we went to the dance floor. And slowly that night, I saw everyone starting to leave me from the 7 friends and giving me an excuse that they were going to get a drink and never came back. And I noticed what was happening. But that inner voice in me was telling me that they didn't want to be around me. And I was fighting that inner voice, trying to fight it, saying, no, it's not that. It's not that. Don't think that. And I soon found myself on my own, on the dance floor, foreign place, foreign country, don't know anybody else. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And in Kenya, I never sat in a cab on my own. You just don't do that. Women, it's not safe for those who are identified as women. It's just not safe. And that too, so late at night. So I've never sat in a cab on my own. I picked up some courage in myself. I found myself walking out of the nightclub. I asked the bouncers where the phone booth was. In 98 at that time, cell phone was a luxury. And I had 3 pounds in my wallet, which barely gets you 3 minutes of talk time. And all I could think of is calling my parents because I didn't have everybody else's numbers by heart. I just had my parents who were in Kenya. It was 1 a.m. in the UK, 4 a.m. in Kenya. And I called them, pouring down with tears in that phone booth, the red phone booth. I asked my parents if getting into a cab is safe. That's the only 3 minutes time I had that I could ask. My dad informed me not to, and he said, "Don't worry." My mom gave me a little bit of courage as well. And I got that courage and I went, sat into a cab on my own and got to campus safely. The whole night, I didn't sleep as I was in tears. I wanted to really quit university. I wanted to go back to Kenya. I was ready to pack up and go through that experience of feeling left out. And the next day at 7 a.m., before everyone woke up, obviously I didn't sleep the whole night. So I waited until 7 a.m. Before everyone woke up. I quickly got ready because I didn't want to face them. I didn't know how to face them. I didn't know what to say. And I called my brothers for support and advice from the international officer. And thankfully, he offered for me to move to another dorm. I waited until it was close to midnight. So I was outside. I waited until it was close to midnight before I got back to my room because I did not want to face any of my roommates. I quietly packed my items and moved to the friendlier dorm. I had lost my voice. I had lost my confidence. And this is what happens today in the workplace. Sometimes you feel or you may feel different. And that inner voice is telling you that. And you keep fighting that inner voice. Or you'll be the only one who's identified as female on your team. And we will get left out sometimes. We get talked over. And sometimes, even when we are asking questions and engaging in the team, our ideas will be turned down. Sometimes you'll be engaging and asking questions, but you will still be invisible and not heard. In the end, what happens to many underrepresented groups when you don't feel included or you have to constantly prove yourself, we leave the organization when we're not heard. And we're so scared to speak up because of the fear that our future careers will get impacted as leaders have a larger network. And we're fearful to speak up. For some, like me, it's just culture as well. We just can't speak up. And what happens as a result of this is we lose our confidence, we lose our voice, and we leave. And that's been my story from that experience when I was at university to what happens in the workplace for many underrepresented groups. So that's my story.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Aarti. I think that was very personal, and you shared it with the rest of the audience. That's so nice of you. So yeah, so already we have this, maybe for some people they're already having that built-in confidence, but for some people, like because there are in a new place with new people, already their confidence is not up to the mark. And then you have this external environment which is kind of influencing whether you have to speak up to the occasion or not. And particularly in workplaces, it kind of like your peers, and the people around you make yourself comfortable to speak up to the occasion, to speak your thoughts, if you feel that there are any points that you don't agree to. So thanks for sharing that. And do you think, Aarti, there are like internal factors as well as external factors that kind of influence this, like to all the women out there?
Yes, there is. There are internal and external factors here. Internally is, of course, you have your inner voice, but external as well. There's unconscious bias. There's systemic barriers. There are all these different things. And there's also just sometimes for some people, that's what they've seen for a long time, and they don't see anything different. So there's a lot of definitely a lot of external factors as well.
Yeah, so that kind of like, I really like the point where you said that they accept it as the time goes by because they think that this is normal. And that's why you're not supposed to speak to the occasion because this is how they saw it with them, with others around. And maybe it's the time to speak up and for everyone to speak their thoughts, particularly women. With that note, let me work on the next question as to like, how do you work on your inner voice? How do you speak up to the occasion when needed? Maybe Mana, can you share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, a little bit about me, as Manny shared in the intro there. So I've been in IT for about 20 years, and for the most part, at the core, I'm an introvert, and for the most part, I haven't. I've been fairly quiet throughout my career, and it's only in the last few years where I've really been finding my inner voice, just personally, work and in my personal life. Um, and so how do I go about finding my inner voice? For one, at the very beginning, at the very outset, the term I've recently come across is being regulated. So being at an even keel. So, have I gotten enough sleep? Am I hydrated? Am I all those things where I'm functioning at an equilibrium and a balance? Are my stress levels like through the roof, or am I managing that? Am I getting enough exercise? All of that. So that's the first thing I try to do, is regulate myself, regulate my body and my mind. And then creating some space, for my voice to come through. So being opening, giving it space so that it can be heard. So sometimes that's taking a break from, well, right now it's at my desk 24/7 for 10 hours a day. But taking a break from my desk, going outside, going for a walk, getting some fresh air and some sunlight, that gives me some quiet time in my mind as to maybe something that's going on, and then just allowing my inner voice, something within me, to percolate up. um, Paying attention, the other thing is paying attention to those emotions. So sometimes, and again, this is something I've been learning recently, is sometimes those emotions show up physiologically in your body. I know, there are certain times where my chest gets really tight, my stomach starts churning, it might come through as a headache. I don't often get headaches, so but most of the time it's in my chest. Sometimes it's in my stomach, and just picking up on that, because emotions will resonate in different parts of your body, and you'll see a pattern. So yeah, pay attention to how it shows up. The other thing I've been doing is looking at patterns. So again, so looking retrospectively, looking in the past, have there been instances where I had a feeling, something I felt wasn't right? And was I correct in that? Like, was I proved correct and accurate, or was I completely off base? And what I'm learning is oftentimes it is that intuition or that inner voice. There's something there. So don't ignore it. And then pause and breathe into it. So yeah, stopping and being still for a moment. And even, this may sound out there, but asking that part of your body, like if it is your back or your chest, what do you need from me? What is this about? What's going on? And then listen for the answer. So those are a few things that I've been practicing to help with um, finding my inner voice, and allowing it to percolate to the top.
I think those were some of the, I think those were really, really good thoughts right there, Mana. The reason I say that is if you work something inner, you are clear in your mind as to what you're speaking up. So if you pay attention to your body and listen to your body as well to understand what's going on, maybe then you have a clear mind to put your thoughts together and do not hesitate when you want to speak up. The other thing you mentioned is about looking back and understanding the patterns. That's a great point because then like, okay, so in this situation, this happened. Did I really voice my? So, are there some things that I can work on? So, you basically make a note of that. And
Mhm.
then when the situation comes in the future, you can speak it up, right? Mana, do you agree with that?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Let me pass this question to Tammy. Tammy, how do you think you can work on your inner voice and then speak up to the occasion when needed?
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Tamin, and I'm actually glad to be here. And I believe, again, everyone is created special, and we have a unique talent and ability to do great things in life, right? And therefore, I know that the fact that You have ability to talk, then you have a voice. And all we need is the courage to speak in any occasion that calls for it. So to work on my inner voice or anybody's inner voice, the first thing you have to do is to do a self evaluation of yourself, to know the areas you need to work on. There are resources online that would kind of help you to achieve that. And this online resource will also help you to know your personality type. So just like Mana said, we have different personality, and that would keep you informed about yourself and also how a personality like you can relate to people. So the second thing is to be open to new ideas and to add to your knowledge. Knowledge, they say, is power. So adding to your knowledge daily is very critical and is very important. So there are online and offline courses that someone like that could benefit from, such as public speaking. We have some useful materials out there that we could leverage on that helps to build and give us necessary morale that is required. I once had a friend who is an introvert. She believes she can't talk in public or speak to people in open. Then she decided to take a public speaking course. After 3 months of going through these courses, she became very confident about herself again. And now she talks to thousands of people without feeling a kind of intimidation. So the third thing I would like to discuss is learning from others through books. You know, you can know a lot about a person you haven't met by just reading their books. And I've never met, for example, Michelle Obama, but when I pick up a book to read, it feels that like I'm related to her. So that would kind of continue to help me evolve and grow and become that powerful and influential person like her. And the other things I would like to discuss is to continue to apply those knowledge from the books you've read and also courses that you've partook of, and always try to speak up. If you're favored to work in maybe an organization that uphold good culture, they have some months that it celebrates one thing or the other. Like this month, we're celebrating women. And we might be given the opportunity to influence the management decision at various workplace by saying something about women, or maybe how could you could be more women can be more visible in a male dominated field, and that should be right time to kind of talk. So hit the ground running by maybe contributing to the growth of women at your place of work. Your voice counts, and every woman really matters. Another point that I have is to be true to yourself and always speak up no matter the circumstances. Don't allow anything to keep your voice down. And also make sure that you have the kind of love in your heart for everybody, regardless of if they are mean to you or if they're not accepting the kind of person you are. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Tammy. I think you touched on very important aspects right there. First is like the one thing that I really liked about what you said is about reading. So I think irrespective of like finding your inner voice, I think reading usually helps you a lot. Look, divorces did not read, and look what happened to them. So you should always read and get details from others, learn from others' experiences. I would want to like relate something that Mana has said and something that Temi has just right now said. As you work on yourself, you're trying to find what's missing. What is the pattern that you're looking at, and then when you identify that, you want to also work on what you're missing. So then I relate to what Temi said right now is she had a friend who basically was an introvert, and then she registered for a public speaking course, and then she's now speaking at every opportunity that she gets. So when you know where's the problem is and you want to put in efforts to work on that, I think that's when you create a space for what you want to speak at the right moment, at the right occasion. So it's not something that would come all off and overnight. It doesn't come off all of on a day or a night. it is more of a consistent process that you usually work on. As said by like 20 years veteran like Mana, and then we have Aarti, and then we have Vanita, Sridevi, as well as Temi, talking about this, because these women have already been like started their journey, and then they have been working on it consistently every day. So every day is new. Every day you learn something new about yourself. And when things like these show up at workplaces, you keep on speaking about that, and then you kind of feel comfortable and confident, and also act as mentors, like for the women coming into cybersecurity, for sure. So on that note, we understand that. I think one thing that we all agree on that is, basically, we do have, I wouldn't say a problem, but it's more like you know a challenging occasion where we couldn't speak our voice. We know that everybody has like experienced that in their life, and then at some point in the work life. And then we also like discussed, how do you work on your inner voice, listening to your inner self, and then trying to identify the patterns, and then having, if you want to register to a course, you can register and then work on it. So there is also an important point that Tammy mentioned about how you can influence in companies, like, as she said, like, this is the Women's International Month. So you basically bring out your voice and say that, yes, we want to talk about this in workplaces and the opportunities that we get into. On that note, I would like to like get in more and ask, what are the tools and techniques that we can, make of, so that we can keep our authentic self, voice our opinion without seeking validation from others? Um, Maybe I'll pass on that question to Vanita. Vanita, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks everybody for coming. And I'm originally from Ghana, but I've been in Canada for 30 years. So if you hear my accent, but what a great, question that we are discussing this morning about inner voice. And thanks to my fellow panelists for sharing their story. This is great, and I'll pick up on some of it. And especially during remote time, you can't see people when you are in the office. You can see people going to the office, the door closed, or they won't give excuses on technology and stuff like that. So for me personally, yes, working remotely has been very rewarding, and I have a lot of positive things to say. But some of my negatives is, personal interaction and collaboration have been a challenge. And then making your voice heard when you can't see people and they don't put on their videos at meetings, and you are excluded from projects or some decisions. And later you were told that, oh, we couldn't connect with you. We needed to get together very quickly. So non-inclusive behavior experience, I find personally, is higher in those who wants to do it. I'll call those the old boys club. They have an opportunity to do more remotely because you are not there to see it or confront them or anything like that. So personally, I have situations where, they've had meetings on project. We had a key project going. I wasn't there. And then I was like, what happened? Oh, yeah, we needed to meet. Oh, the VP said we need to meet right away, blah, blah, blah. I have situations where, I just get emails. I'll call, no respond. And then 2 minutes, I'll see an email in response to my, to the voicemail I left. I was like, well, I just called him. Or I'll set up a meeting face to face. Oh, I had something, or my daughter, blah, blah, blah. All the excuses they can give in the world. So this is becoming, the whole bureaucracy, political old boys club kind of thing. So from my perspective, when this happened, one particular colleague of mine keeps doing that. At a point, I just said, I've had enough. So I told him, I don't solve problems or manage situations or issues or staff issue by email. So I won't be responding to your email anymore. If you want us to talk about it, we can talk on phone, we can talk on chat. I'm not going to respond to email. Then right after that, and I make sure I CC my boss, I emailed and set my expectation to the management team. I just said, just so you know, going forward, I'm accessible anytime on this platform, phone, email, MS Teams, blah, blah, blah. So please let me know if it's something that has to be done. And quite often you even go and some of the things doesn't have to be done right away. Then one of them said, oh, you don't start work early. I said, my phone is available 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. You have both my personal and my work number, and my staff knows that. So, period. Honestly, it hadn't really happened. So for me, is trying to listen to your inner voice and validating yourself. And sometimes we are not sure, we hear all this, oh yeah, you are good, you are this, but do they really mean it? Right? So you have that inner voice telling you, oh yeah, maybe, maybe not. So for me recently, looking at exploring more of my passion, I did send out a survey to people I have worked with for even 20 years, and my former bosses, staff, co-workers, family mentors, friends, basically people within my network who've known me for a minimum of 2 years, just to self-validate myself and ask them questions like, what words will you use to describe me, right? What will you count on me for? I have 6 questions, that was it. And I got about 50 responses back so far. And they were very consistent. And that gave me a lot of confidence as well that, wow, you are worth something. We always need to remind ourselves that we are loved and valued by so many. So don't focus too much on the negatives, but rather learn from it. So we need to validate ourselves if that is required, not through others. You do it once. You don't every little thing, oh, what did I do? And what do you think? You know, build a network. Some of the tools is build a network that you can feel free to share your experiences, recognizing that it's a conversation. They are not there to solve your problems, right? Um, and knowing that you are not alone in this struggle, as we are doing today. You've heard everybody's story. I'm sure some will resonate with others saying, wow, yes, I have that. So one of the things when, people who know me in my early years of life will tell you I used to be very quiet, is start keeping a journal. Start with things you've done and choices you've made, personal and professional. Look at your successes. Maybe not good. I could have done better. The other big thing is be kind and generous to yourself. Praise yourself. Wow, I did that. After the end of this presentation, some of us, you were nervous. Wow, I did it. I did it. I'm great. Why can't you do that? I mean, guys do that all the time, but we women, we are not kind and generous to ourselves. We need to be praising ourselves, right? And when we go to validate ourselves from others, what are we expecting them to tell us that we don't know already? So ask yourself, what am I getting by reaching out to this person? You realize there's nothing that this person is telling you that you don't already know. The other big thing for me is know yourself and what you bring to the table, especially when you're in a boardroom. And I've been in those situations where I said nothing. And then later on, I gradually, you're like, okay, why am I here? Okay, there is the premier, there is the judge, there is the owner of this. What's this little girl from Africa doing among this mist? And you get intimidated. And most of the time, they are all men. And a few women are, I was like, okay, I've been in those situations. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? What am I even here for? Right? But you have to look at why are you here? Why did they invite you to come? What do you have to share at that table? There is something you have, right? Like Tammy said, you have your skill set, you've taken some courses, you have worth something. So you need to speak out. What are your fears? And you need to confront that fears, So you also need to recognize when you are judging your feelings. We are in the habit of feeling bad, about feeling down, insecure, and, emotional, as Manny said as well, and even Aarti said, inevitably giving up feelings, you are stuck and helpless. Get out of that habit by asking yourself, what do I need to do right now? I'm here. I'm in this situation. Love, cherish, acknowledge, respect, speak, support. What is it? Be truthful to yourself. Use the art of asking questions. So if you're around people that, your inner voice is telling you, okay, you are getting intimidated. What are you getting intimidated about? Do you need clarification? So you can also contribute. Remember, you are at the table for a reason, right? Listen to your inner guidance and intuition. And again, check in with yourself and reflect. And I think both Manny, Timmy, and Aarti have said that. You need to be reflecting. Surrender yourself and be vulnerable when you need to be vulnerable. Believe in yourself that you have strength, power, and skills and abilities, right? So that's why you are there. And that's why, like, Atri's situation, yeah, that helped her. She learned from it, right? Every situation that I encounter, I don't let it define me, right? My frustration turned into motivation. It makes me stronger, right? And I know sometimes people will say, oh, black women are so aggressive. Well, they are aggressive because they can't stand it. There's a fear out there. So I don't let that define me. I've seen a number of friends who will go, well, I don't want to talk. They will tell me I'm aggressive. Yes, I have a loud voice. Do I bring something to the table? Are you listening to me? Let's focus on the issue, not my personality. Yes, we can be calm, but sometimes frustration may lead you to say certain things. And I'll be the first to apologize if I feel I said something inappropriate, right? So don't let anybody define you. You're aggressive, you're always loud, you're always, talking about yourself. Well, if I don't talk about myself, who will? The guys are able to talk about themselves and everything they've done. But as soon as we start, but there is that fear because they know they can. So we need to push ourselves instead of punishing ourselves and self-doubting ourselves, right? So when you're feeling down, for me, what does your body tell you? I think both Mani Atri tells, what is your body telling you? What is your mind telling you? What's your spirit telling you? What will make you feel better, more stable, healthier, and more balanced? So once we accept our feelings and we feel we are not stuck in this mindset of, oh, I can't say anything, I'll be judged. Yeah, we need to work on it, but you first need to, know yourself, assess yourself and stuff like that. The other big thing I want to talk about is we women in leadership. We need to mentor and coach other women that we find have potentials that are not reached. And I've done that so many times. I have this lady who came to our team just 2 months coming to the country from India, was hired, and she's the only lady working with men. She'll go to meetings, come to my office and be emotional. I'll lie her and I'll tell her, no, send this email, send a follow-up. It was your idea. Now, within 3 years, people would tell her you are just becoming like Juanita. You can't stop her, right? So there is a light in the tunnel if we all make a difference, if we all make an effort to help somebody, a man, a woman, whoever it is. We need to do that, right? And I can even tell you a story about my own oldest son, who, growing up was, bullied, intimidated, but now, you know, he's a lawyer. You can't stop him. I call him pocket lawyer. Like I can't stop him from talking, right? And sometimes to the other issue we have is our culture differences, and we need to examine, our belief systems. What are they? Are they the cause of who we are? And should that be, trust yourself? What are your values, integrity, and ethics? Because sometimes we blindly just follow it without inner, and there is that inner struggle between what we really think and what our culture is telling us and where we are, right? So we have to find that good balance. I think the biggest thing is the courage to face our fears, whatever it is. And everybody would do that. The rest of my panelists have talked about other ways of looking at that. And then developing your authentic self, asking questions, telling the truth and having empathy. Again, for me, I'll end by saying you need to be confident and show confidence and be proud of who you are and what you live for. I'm a Black woman. I'm from Africa. And this is who I am. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Vanita. I mean, those were like really great thoughts and really inspiring for the people right now in the audience. Like, this is how you kind of like get inspiration from other women, right? Like how you feel inclusive to speak up to the occasion. Because for me, it's like seeing Vanita and then getting like that confidence in me because she's kind of filling that energy in me to speak up, to the occasion because she's there guiding. So I think Vanita spoke about really good points about asking the question why. So whenever we doubt ourselves in the meetings or in any occasions where we are asked to speak, but we kind of doubt ourselves and like, I'm not supposed to speak. But what we fail to do is why am I doubting myself not to speak? That's like the important question that we need to ask ourselves. And then another important point that Vanita just said is questioning your fears. Like, where are they getting in from? Like, is this belief system or any kind of fears that have been there in your mind for long, due to different reasons that have been there, and that's just stopping you from doing things you want to do, where you're capable of doing things, and not taking a step back and saying like who you are, what you want to do, what you want to speak up. And I think the other important aspect, you know implicitly we're all talking about, is having that support network, having that mentor to speak, um, and one of them, I think, very intricately put out there is that you should also know whom you're asking that validation from, because it's very important. If the opposite person is not on the same wavelength as you are, the question of asking why, where am I missing, is also lost, because you're not able to fill that gaps that you see for yourself, and you're asking for external support and they're not able to fill in that. So having that mentor who would give you that honest feedback and understanding that you need to work on things if where you kind of lag behind, is also important. And on that note, like Shri, what are your thoughts on like what tools and techniques that we can make use of keeping our authentic self, voicing our opinion, also not seeking validation from others?
Sure, Mani. It's really very interesting topics going on. I'm very happy to hear all this. It's kind of like reading my mind. So yeah, we are right. Actually, when we are asking opinions for others, I always believe that we are the best person to judge. We know well what we want in our life, what is right or wrong. We are the best person. Validating and seeking validation from others is okay, just to judge our opinion, but still myself, I'll always go with my choices because I know my weaknesses and my strengths and what is good for me. Yeah, living life according to our own personality, values, and goals, being honest to ourselves, these are all really nice, but it is difficult to maintain always, especially for being a woman. Women always care for family, society, and forget to take care of themselves. And we are emotional, sensitive, flexible, adaptable, and powerful. We're always ready to face challenges and take responsibilities. In this process, sometimes we may lost ourselves. We have to compromise and we neglect our health, own priorities. In the similar way, I faced a lot of challenges in my personal life and also in career. I was born in a middle class family from India along with two more sisters. In our family, girls should be quite careful and not supposed to go out for studies and not supposed to raise the voice, etc. things. So we three were grown up with all these influences and sympathy for being a girl child. But my mother, she stand for us. She's so ambitious. We studied well and settled because of her now. Now I completed almost 30 years of my career actually, but still I'm not fully satisfied with my career because I feel like something missing. Though I lived fully, I did a lot of great things in my life. I supported my sisters and my family and my son, and I also got so many promotions and awards, lot of things in my career. But still, I feel like low. The inner voice, the fears, still will be there always. Sometimes to overcome all these things, I do meditation, yoga, and I also improve my skills. I keep on update my skills to be up to the market and to compete with my team. Yeah, so I encourage you all to think about yourself, what is important for you, what is really want for you in your life. So decide what you want to do and respect your thoughts. You are the best person to decide what is wrong and right for you. You don't need to wait for the validation from others. Don't hesitate to raise your voice. Be strong and confident, and always stand for yourself. So you get a lot of ideas and you can do more miracles with this kind of mindset. That is my experience. So that's why I'm here today to share my thoughts. This will be, I lost almost my 30 years career, but I don't want you to do this. That's why I just would like to encourage you to be with you, stand for yourself. That helps. Trust me.
Thanks, Shri. That was really inspiring, and I really like that you want to share your thoughts for the women coming into cybersecurity so that they could learn from your experiences. That's really inspiring from you. Understanding that you are the best judge of yourself because you know what you want to and what you can do, and also like understanding what you need to do to keep that mind at peace, like yoga, meditation, working on that inner voice. I feel like she's like just not saying it, but after 30 years also she questions because she has that fear in her inner voice. She has done so much, but again, as she said, like the inner voice always kind of keeps judging you every day. So as I said before, it's a consistent process that you need to work on every day. Even I think maybe like for me, like after 30 years, maybe I'll be questioning myself as well. It's more like an exercise that how do you practice happiness. It's also like how do you work on your inner voice so that it becomes a consistent process as we go along. At this point, I just wanted to open it to audience if they have any questions. I do have one topic that I need to go around the panel to discuss, but I just wanted to ask the audience if they have any questions that they want to discuss. Yeah, feel free to like put it in the chat box. In the meantime, I think we right now discussed about how everybody has to work on their inner voice, like the sum of the tools that we need to do every day to keep our authentic self being consistent. It's a daily work that you need to do, like how you kind of exercise every day, how do you breathe every day, you kind of practice that every day, and having that support and the group mentorship that we need to have. On that thought, like what advice to leaders and allies to encourage people to share their thoughts more openly? Like as in the start of the conversation, we talked about something we have to work internally and something that has to be done externally to make it more inclusive, and then for people to share their thoughts openly. So like what do you think that we can suggest to the leaders or the people who are in the industry that to encourage women in cybersecurity, especially because we're on this field, to speak their thoughts openly? Aarti, what do you think?
Yeah, no, this is a really, really big, important topic, because we're all in this together, and the only way we can solve it is all of us have to be in it together. And as the panelists have shared, there are different ways where you can express your voice, whether it's speaking to the individual or whether it's speaking to a employee resource group, or even writing about your journey, or like what we're doing here, sharing at a conference that helps, right? Because we ourselves are leaders here because we're sharing our story openly in this event. And I know I wrote my journey in a book, and in a chapter in a book, and I was fearful still. I was worried what people would say when they read this. In fact, my first version of my chapter, I still held back. And so it takes time. Like you said, even as a leader, it takes time. And I know for many, and I can share this from my own experience, I'm sure for many you'll agree, in some situations, it just isn't easy to speak up. It's just really difficult to say something in that situation. Like in my safari, I didn't want to face them, as I talked earlier on, but I wish someone else would have shared this with them, of what they did and how I felt. And the reason for this is not, I don't want an apology from them because it's gone 20 years ago, but I felt like it's important for them so they do not do this to anybody else. And the chances are, if they've done this to me, they'll do it again, and they'll do it again, right? And within the organization, whether you're a leader or not, whether you're an influencer or have a voice, right? My advice is when you notice such behavior where someone in your team is constantly talking over another individual, jump in and, pause that person and let somebody else speak. Pull them aside. If whether you're, maybe you might be their manager, if you're not, just pull them aside and let them know so they realize what they did. Sometimes you will notice that the individual wasn't aware of what they were doing for a very long time. And this is bringing awareness. I know during my safari, I was mentoring someone in a position who was much higher than me. And he shared his story at some point with his mentor, that this is what he was doing and he didn't realize. In fact, there was another situation that we both faced, and we were working together. And later on, I pulled him aside and I said, hey, by the way, how did you feel about the situation when this was raised? And he shared, he's like, it made me cringe. And I'm like, what could you have done about it? Just as his mentor. And it's like, I could have said something. And calling that out, because now, and a success story there, 2-3 months later on, something similar happened. And he spoke up and he called me and he goes, Aarti, you'll be amazed to see what I did, right? And sometimes, like I said, they don't know, and so leaders may not realize that they need to speak up and be a voice for somebody else, because it's hard. And I can tell you as an individual, right? It's hard sometimes to speak up based on the situation. And while you're in that situation, what do you do, right? And this is where leaders can step in. And that's why I say, try, if you're a leader, try reverse mentoring. Doesn't matter what level you are within the organization, we can all learn from each other. In that situation, whereas mentoring him, he got to see things through my lens, which he was never able to see things. And just creating that process, we ended up creating this new initiative within the organization, which is Mentor Match. It's stories like this when you see that as a leader, you've got a lot of ways that you can help change the future. Because if we stay the way we are, nothing's going to change. We're going to continue on. The next generation is going to face what we just face. And it's so frustrating because I know I can't change my last 20 years. Shri mentioned that. But what we can do as leaders is change the future.
Yeah, I can add one more point here, Aarti. Yeah, this is all about our choices. No one told us to do and think in this way, intimidating and feeling shy or inner fears. All these things is our choices. We decided to be like that. No one told us. When we decide, we are strong. We can do miracles. So no one can stop us. This is all about choices. We need to accept the situations and people and act accordingly. Then only we are able to successful. Yeah, now when I go back and look for these 30 years, this is my choice, right? I would have done differently. No one able to, tell anything if I stand up, but I didn't do that. That's our choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now what you're doing is you're speaking up for others and helping change this, so that I know in my case, I don't want anyone to face what I faced. And if I can break down those barriers and speak up for other individuals through She, or through Stand Out to Lead, or just back to being my authentic self, I will step in, and I'm encouraging more and more leaders to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those were like two great perspectives just put across. The way, the Shri mentioned that it's our choice that, we go silent. It's our choice that we were silent. But it is also, yes, I totally agree on that. But it's also that you need to have somebody to support, right? To tell you that, you're going the right direction. You just need that mentoring and support. To have that back, saying that other people are there for me, talking about this. Just right now, like we're having a panel discussion about this. Maybe it might help other women to think about this and talk about more openly. As Aarti pointed out, like, yes, leaders have to, get that thoughts, going around saying that, we have to make that inclusive for people to speak up. And as leaders, if they kind of send that message, it builds in confidence from everybody. Okay, so my leader is supporting me for this. So I'm going to step up. I'm going to speak about my inner voice because my leader is very supportive of this. And on that note, like Vanita, what would be your concluding thoughts on leaders, thoughts for leaders and allies?
I can spend a whole day talking about this, and thanks everybody. For me, when I talk about leadership, I do teach leadership courses as well. We are all leaders. Leaders is not defined by the title, right? So when we look back, we see the good leaders and we see the bad leaders. Someone would say, is Trump was a leader? Was he a good leader? Is he somebody who will support inclusively everything we're talking about today and make a change? Maybe not. And like all the other panelists have said, we all have a responsibility. We've made our mistakes in the past, the same with me. But for me, I will not let those mistakes, I call them my learning opportunities, define who I am. And I don't want any other person to make the same mistake. Yesterday, if you guys listened to my speech, one of the things I talked about was a place that I worked at where I wasn't given a raise because I have to take maternity leave. Where my job involved traveling and I had 3 kids under 6, I couldn't do it anymore. Where I asked for flexibility, I was not given flexibility. Eventually, I decided instead of speaking up, everything was through email, I decided to leave. It was when I was leaving that I reflected and go, Juanita, if you don't say anything, whoever is coming after you, if it's a woman, will go through exactly what you went through and you are leaving. So I pointed everything out to them. My boss was like, oh, that time we had published one paper. Oh, stay, we'll be flexible. You won't travel. You won't do this. We won't do that. I said, I'm sorry. Why didn't you do it before? Even though what they offered was very, interesting and looking back, I said, no, I have to do it for whoever is coming next. I left, but they hired my friend. They said, oh, we want somebody like you. Well, they hired my friend and she had a complete opposite experience because my inner voice told me to tell them what they need to do right. So, and she even had some sickness and the support that they provided her, in a million years, I wouldn't have thought about it. And just that to tell you that if we all do our part, no matter how little we think it is, others are going to benefit from it. So, like I said before, we need to face our fears, we need to set expectation, and we need to make a difference. So for me, that's my mission. I'm older now. I have made my own experiences. Like both Siri and Aarti said, we can't go back and undo them, but we can make a difference moving forward.
Yeah.
By listening to our inner voice and speaking up.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Vanita. Absolutely right on that, right? So I think you kind of said that, as we're all leaders and we kind of lay down our steps for others to benefit it from us. So I think I think these were like great thoughts shared by each one of us, sharing our experiences, our thoughts on different aspects, what we went through in our journeys. And we're almost like end of the session. So I thank everyone who took their time to join us and encourage us. From WiCyS Western Canada affiliate, we thank you all for joining. You can also join us on LinkedIn. We have a chat link we just shared across, so that feel free to join and get updates from us for more information. I think, again, I would like to end the session saying that, it's your voice, it's your own voice. You speak up, and you're not going to be silent as you speak up. Thanks, everyone.